You know that feeling when you're standing in line at the grocery store, or maybe stuck in that soul-crushing, Monday morning traffic on the I-95. And you look around at everyone else and just think, is this it? You've been doing everything right. You've worked the hours. You've been kind. You've kept your head down, and yet there's this nagging, heavy weight in your chest that tells you you're meant for something so much bigger than the life you're currently leading. It's that quiet desperation that hits right before you fall asleep, that whisper asking why the things you want. The financial freedom, the love that actually sees you, the career that feels like a calling, always seem to be just out of reach. Like a horizon, you're walking toward but never quite touching. I know that frustration. I know the exhaustion of waiting for your life to finally begin, but what if I told you that the waiting isn't a void? What if the delay isn't a denial from the universe, but a sacred preparation for a version of you that you haven't even met yet? Most people spend their lives reacting to the shadows on the wall, fighting against the facts of their bank account or their past mistakes, not realizing that they are the architects of the very walls they feel trapped in. We are going to change that right now. We are going to stop begging for scraps from the table of life and start realizing that the entire banquet is already yours. You just haven't learned how to take your seat. We're going to talk about the laws of the spirit that govern this physical world. The silent rules of the waiting room that, once mastered, turn your stagnation into an unstoppable magnet for every good thing you've ever dreamed of. You aren't stuck. You are just in a cocoon, and it is time to stop fighting the silk and start preparing for the sky. By the time we're done today, you won't just feel better. You will be vibrating at a frequency that makes it impossible for your old problems to live in your new world. You're standing there, looking at your life, and it feels like trying to pour fresh water into a glass that's already filled with stale, murky liquid. It just overflows and makes a mess. We have to talk about the law of the empty vessel, because most of us are praying for a new house, while our current closets are filled with boxes of things we haven't touched since 2012. You're asking for a new relationship, but you're still holding onto the resentment of that ex from 3 years ago, keeping that space occupied in your heart just in case the universe doesn't show up. Listen, if you want the new, you have to be brave enough to let go of the old. I'm not just talking about cleaning out your garage, though. Honestly, that wouldn't hurt. I'm talking about the mental clutter. Think about that desk in your home office, the one covered in unpaid bills and to-do lists that make your stomach sink every time you walk by. That physical mess is a mirror, a reflection of a mind that believes in lack, a mind that is constantly bracing for the next disaster. When you clear that space, when you throw away the broken things and the just-in-case items, you are sending a signal to the divine, a silent, powerful declaration that says, I have room for the abundance that is coming. I remember a woman, let's call her Sarah, living in a cramped apartment in Chicago, working a job that drained her soul. She desperately wanted a career in design, but she spent all her time complaining about her tiny dark living room. One Saturday, she stopped complaining. She bought a single beautiful vase, something she couldn't afford, but felt like the life she wanted. She cleared a space on her table, polished the wood, and put that vase right in the center. She treated that 1 square foot of her apartment like it belonged to a mansion. Within 2 weeks, an old contact reached out with a freelance opportunity that changed everything. She didn't get the job. She made room for it. She stopped acting like a tenant of her problems and started acting like the owner of her future. You have to prepare the guest room before the guest arrives. Otherwise, you're just wishing. And wishing is the language of the person who doesn't believe they'll ever receive. I now cast out every thought of lack and limitation, for I am a wide open channel through which the infinite riches of the universe now flow with ease and grace. Take a breath. Feel that, because as soon as you clear the space, you have to watch the gatekeeper of your world, your tongue. We move into the alchemy of speech. And this is where most people accidentally sabotage their own miracles. You've heard it at the water cooler, at the Thanksgiving table, or even just in your own head while you're scrolling through social media. I can't afford that. Typical my luck. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Words aren't just sounds, they are seeds. And every time you speak a word of doubt, you are planting a weed in the very garden you're trying to grow. Think about how we talk in the US. We wear busy like a badge of honor, and we talk about the grind like it's a religion. But when you say, "This job is killing me," your subconscious mind doesn't know you're exaggerating. It just hears a command to feel drained. Your words are the steering wheel of your life. If you keep saying you're broke, the universe will continue to prove you right, because it's a perfect mirror of your internal frequency. Imagine, you're at a coffee shop in Seattle, and you're looking at the menu, but instead of ordering what you want, you just keep talking about how much you hate the tea. The barista can't give you the latte until you stop talking about the tea and actually place the order. Stop describing your problems, start describing your vision. Instead of saying, "I hope I don't lose my job," try saying, "I am so grateful for the new doors that are opening for me right now." It feels weird at first, doesn't it? Like you're lying. But you aren't lying, you're prophesying. You are calling those things which be not as though they were. You are the captain of your soul, and your speech is the vibration that tells the atoms of your life exactly where to line up. Don't tell God how big your storm is. Tell the storm how big your God is. And watch how quickly the clouds begin to part. Now, I want you to lean in for a second. Because we're about to walk right into the one room in your heart where you've kept the lights off for far too long. We have to talk about the ghosts, the what-ifs, the not enoughs, the paralyzing fear of failing in front of everyone you know. We call this dissolving the ghost of fear. But really, it's about realizing that the giant shadow on the wall isn't a monster. It's just a tiny paper tiger being held up by your own hand. Think about the way fear moves in our lives here. It's that tightening in your throat when you see a low balance alert on your phone. Or that cold sweat that hits when you think about starting that business, while everyone else is playing it safe in their 9 to -5. We've been conditioned to think fear is a stop sign. But in the world of the spirit, fear is actually a compass. It's pointing directly at the place where your old self ends and your new life begins. I think about a guy I knew. Let's call him David, a gifted teacher in North Carolina who was terrified of public speaking. He had this vision of starting a mentorship program, but every time he thought about hitting record on a video or standing on a stage, his mind would flood with images of people laughing at him, of him losing his house, of his family thinking he'd lost his mind. He lived in that ghost town for 5 years. Finally, one morning, he realized that the pain of staying small was actually worse than the fear of being seen. He decided to walk through the ghost. He didn't wait for the fear to go away. He invited it to sit in the passenger seat while he drove the car. And the moment he took that first step, the moment he posted that first video, the monster vanished. It wasn't there. It never was. It was just a projection of his own hesitation. You see, the universe can't move a parked car. You have to put it in gear, even if your hands are shaking on the wheel. When you walk toward the thing you fear, the light of your courage dissolves the shadow, and you realize that the only thing standing between you and your miracle was a thought you were too afraid to question. I am a fearless being of light. I move forward with unwavering confidence, knowing that the divine power within me is greater than any obstacle in my path. And this brings us to the part that tests our soul more than anything else. The master key of divine timing. Oh, how we hate to wait, don't we? We live in a world of same-day delivery and instant downloads. We want the breakthrough now. We want the check in the mail yesterday. When the delay happens, we take it personally. We think we've been forgotten by the universe, or worse, that we're being punished. But listen to me. Your delay is almost always a shield. It is the divine hand holding you back from a door that isn't ready for you, or perhaps holding you back because you aren't yet ready for what's behind the door. If you got everything you wanted the second you thought of it, it would crush you. You wouldn't have the character to sustain it. or the wisdom to keep it. Think of it like a flight out of JFK or O'Hare during a winter storm. You're sitting on the tarmac, fuming, checking your watch, complaining that you're going to be late. You're angry at the pilot, angry at the airline. But what you don't see is the ice on the wings that would have brought the plane down 5 minutes after takeoff. The delay isn't a denial. It's a protection. It's the universe de-icing your soul so that when you finally take flight, you actually stay in the air. I remember a woman who was devastated, absolutely heartbroken. Because she didn't get the dream job she'd interviewed for in Manhattan. She cried for a week, convinced her manifesting had failed. 6 months later, that company folded in a massive scandal, leaving everyone unemployed and stuck in legal battles. Meanwhile, because she was waiting, she happened to be in the right place at the right time to meet a partner for a venture that eventually became her life's work. Your life is not a race against the clock. It's a dance with destiny. When things don't happen on your timeline, stop checking your watch and start checking your heart. Are you trusting the process, or are you trying to micromanage the creator? Relax your grip. The sun doesn't rush to rise. Yet it never misses its cue. Your harvest is ripening in the sun of your faith. And it will land in your lap at the exact moment you are prepared to handle the weight of the blessing. Trust the pause. It's where the magic is being built. We have to move into a space now. That's a little uncomfortable for some of us, because it requires us to stop being victims of our circumstances and start being the masters of our energy. We're talking about magnetic self-worth, the art of attracting everything you desire without having to chase a single thing. Think about the energy of chasing. When you chase something, a person, a promotion, a sum of money, it is running away from you. Why? Because the very act of chasing is a confession that the thing you want is separate from you. That it's out there somewhere, and you are back here lacking it. In our culture, we're taught to hustle until we break. We're told that if we aren't exhausted, we aren't trying. But I'm telling you, the universe doesn't respond to your sweat, it responds to your self-worth. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are worthy of. I think about a man I met in Phoenix. He was a brilliant coder, but he kept getting passed over for leadership roles. He would go into interviews smelling like desperation, practically begging for the job, over-explaining his value, and wondering why he never got the call back. He was chasing. One day, he stopped. He started a daily practice of simply sitting with himself and realizing that his value didn't come from a paycheck or a title, it came from the divine spark within him. He started walking into rooms as if he already had 10 other offers. He didn't become arrogant. He became settled. He stopped looking for validation and started radiating excellence. And what happened? 3 companies started a bidding war for him within a month. He didn't change his resume. He changed his frequency. When you know who you are, you don't have to convince anyone of your value. The right people, the right opportunities, the right connections, they are literally pulled toward you by the gravity of your own confidence. You become a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't run all over the beach looking for boats to save, does it? It just stands there and shines. And the boats find their way home because of the light. And this brings us to the final threshold. This is the bridge. This is where we stop talking about it and start being it. This is the law of acting as if. Now, I'm not talking about fake it till you make it. That's based on a lie. I'm talking about faith it till you manifest it. You have to bridge the gap between where you are standing on your worn-out carpet and where you want to be. Walking through that dream home you've seen in your mind. How do you do that? You start making the choices today that the future you would make. If the wealthy, healthy, loved version of you wouldn't spend 2 hours scrolling through negative news or complaining about the price of gas, then you stop doing it now. You start treating your current life with the respect and the elegance of the life you are calling in. I remember a woman who lived in a tiny drafty studio in Vermont. She wanted to travel the world, but she felt trapped by her small life. She decided to start acting as if. Every Sunday, she would set her small table with her best linens, play Italian jazz, and cook a meal as if she were already sitting in a villa in Tuscany. She would walk through her neighborhood with her head held high, wearing her favorite coat as if she were walking through the streets of Paris. She wasn't delusional, she was practicing the vibration of her destination. Within a year, she was offered a remote position that required her to relocate to Europe. All expenses paid. The universe finally saw that she was a match for the experience she was dreaming of. You have to be the person who has the dream before the dream can belong to the person. You have to feel the gratitude in your bones now, while the bank account is still low, while the house is still quiet, while the path is still unclear. Because when you feel it, when you truly deeply feel it, the physical world has no choice but to catch up to the reality you've already created in your spirit. I stand in the full authority of my divine inheritance. I am worthy, I am chosen, and I now lay claim to the infinite abundance that has been mine since the beginning of time. You aren't waiting for the world to change so you can feel better. You are changing your feelings so the world has to change. Go out there today and walk like a person who knows the creator of the stars is working on their behalf. Speak like a person who knows their word is law. And most importantly, love yourself like someone who knows they are the greatest miracle in the universe. Your time isn't coming, it's here. It's right now. And it is beautiful.